What's up YouTube? Brandy here, and today I want to go over with you guys how to get a job in tech and the 5 things that you guys need to know and do in order to make that dream actually happen. Alright, the first thing that you need to know, have confidence. Now this is something you've probably heard a lot, but this is the biggest thing that I tell people because it's the one thing I see so many people lack. Have confidence in yourself and your ability to do things and build awesome stuff. Remember, none of us are experts here and we're all still learning. That's the beauty of technology and especially of programming. There's an infinite number of things that we can learn, build, frameworks we can work with, languages we can build with, all sorts of things. That's the beauty of it. We're never going to know everything. So have confidence in yourself. The number one thing that I see with people when they ask me, hey Brandy, how do I get a job in tech? Or how do I become a developer full-time? First thing I ask is, have you applied for a job? They usually say no. And the reason why they say no is because they say they don't have the skills on the requirements list for that job. A lot of those requirements are built by somebody in HR that maybe not be super familiar with programming and all the stuff that goes into it. So my suggestion is be confident and apply for the job anyways, because you have a 50-50 chance if they say yes or if they say no. Just believe in yourself that you can build stuff, and having confidence shines through, especially on a job interview or on a resume, because what they're looking for a lot of times is somebody that is confident that they can either find the answer or ask somebody for help and then find the right solution for the job. That's what my jobs have been. When I first started, I felt like I didn't know anything, and I definitely didn't know the stuff that they were asking me. But I was confident in my ability to look things up on Google and ask, the senior developers around me, because that's what they're there for. Remember, senior developers are there to help you, and they're there for you to ask them questions. There's online communities, we have Slack, you can ask people on GitHub, you can ask people on Stack Overflow, there's stuff on Twitter. Pretty much anywhere you go nowadays, you can ask people questions, and it's okay. People that are hiring, they're looking for somebody that's going to be a problem solver. They want you to be confident in your abilities to solve the problem that they're giving you. This doesn't mean you're going to know the solution right off the top of your head, but it's going to take time, and it's going to take you having that confidence in yourself that you'll be able to solve that problem and deliver the best solution possible. Step number 2. Kind of get a double hitter here, but work hard and work smart. When I was attending Full Sail, I knew that I had to put in a lot of effort outside of my classes in order to make the concepts that they were teaching me stick. I kid you not, I was at coffee shops almost till midnight every night, and on my weekends, building, doing whatever I could to make sure I understood the concepts that they were giving to me. Here's a suggestion that I would recommend is do tutorials. If there's a concept or something that you don't understand in a certain language or in a framework or whatever, find a tutorial that outlines what that is and teaches you, and then build upon that tutorial. Because a lot of times it's not going to stick the first time you do it, and probably not the 10th time you do it, depending on your learning style. I know for me it took a lot, and it took me, a lot of hours to make certain things stick in my head. And some things came faster than others. But the other aspect of it is when you're building out these tutorials and you're adding on to them and building in new features, bringing in new libraries and new components, is be smart about it. So being a programmer isn't just about writing code. It's also about being able to communicate with your other team members. So this takes you to have the knowledge of design principles and also UX and UI, because if you're able to build out an application and you're going to build it, in a smart way so that a user is better able to interact with it, you're one step up than the developer that isn't worrying about that sort of thing. Because in the real world, you're going to have to be working with people from all sorts of different teams. So I highly recommend studying, design principles and any sort of like UX strategies that go into building applications, because it's going to make you a more well-rounded programmer, developer in the end. And that's really what people are looking for when they're looking to hire somebody, is they want somebody that can come in at all different angles and help them find that solution to the problem that they have. The other aspect of working smart is if you're putting in all this time and all this energy to building out these fun side projects or your side hustle, you want to make sure that you're putting in quality effort, not just quantity effort. And what that means is make sure the stuff that you're doing it the right way. Research the type of project that you're building or the app that you're designing, and make sure that it's meeting the specifications if it's an app for Android or iOS or any sort of web rules that you need to follow, you need to be thinking about, because those sort of habits you're going to carry with them in your journey as a developer or designer, and you want to make sure that you're establishing good habits from the beginning. So that was step number 2, working hard and working smart. All right, you guys, we are on step number 3. Try new things. This should not be a surprise to you if you are in the tech industry or even if you're just starting out, because tech industry is always evolving and we as software engineers need to be evolving with it. So this means trying different things and, changing out those different frameworks for new ones or trying out those new libraries. So like in step number 2, we talked about working hard and working smart. A part of that is trying new things. So like I said before, when you're trying to build these different applications and you're adding on new features and new components because you're trying to remember that one concept. Remember how we talked about that in step number 2? Well, the next part of that is adding in maybe a library or a framework that can either help with that creation or it adds new functionality altogether. Something else about trying something new is try a different language or try a different aspect of programming. So maybe you've only been focusing on front end and you've been working really hard and now you're confident in it. Maybe now it's time to go off and maybe try building an API or start researching what it takes to build an API so you at least have the knowledge of what goes into it. Or maybe you want to start looking at data structures or data security. Whatever it is, just try something different. When I was in school, they had us doing JavaScript, HTML, CSS, PHP, SAS, C++, MongoDB, raw SQL, all sorts of different stuff. And the reason why they had us in all these different classes because they wanted us to get a taste of what's out there and kind of to see what we would gravitate towards, which is something I would totally recommend for anybody that's just starting out. I would start out maybe with JavaScript and play around with that for a while, and if maybe you decide that's not for you, don't, nix programming altogether. Maybe try some other area in programming like backend or databases. Just be flexible and be adaptive. And how this helps when you're trying to get a job in tech is when you have different things on your resume, that's showing the person that's looking to hire you that you're willing to try new things and you are a learner. And that's exactly what people are wanting to hire. They want to hire people that are willing to either learn on the job and are willing to be flexible and try different things to find the best solution. Because in the end, they're hiring you to be a problem solver. So they don't really, generally speaking, they don't really care about how you solve the problem as long as it's an efficient and effective way. All right, you guys, we are on step number 4, socialize. It's probably one of my favorite steps because it's one of the most important things. Probably behind, I would say, well, these are all really important, but behind confidence. So the reason why socializing is so important is because if people don't know that you're capable of doing something, they're not going to be able to hire you for the job. Make sense? So what I always tell people is if you are wanting to be a programmer, tell somebody that you want to be a programmer, whether that's your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, or a significant other, or a friend, teacher, whoever it is. Just tell somebody, because that's going to start creating this accountability between you and them, and they're going to ask you about how that's going. So be social about that. And the next part of being social is going out there and meeting people in the industry. The best way to get a job is by networking. I'm sure you've heard this before, but every job that I've gotten is because of networking. That is me going out to a meetup and introducing myself to somebody. And that is exactly what you need to do. And I know that sounds scary, and it kind of is, but once you have some confidence, you'll be able to go up to people and just introduce yourself and just start talking with them about what they do. The best thing with people is to ask them questions, because people like to talk about themselves. So ask them how they got into programming, or what their favorite language is, or what they do for a job, or when did they start programming. All sorts of questions that you can ask somebody, and then they're going to be like, oh, what do you do? And then that's where you can say, I'm trying to get into tech. It's a great segue, and then they'll probably be more likely to tell you about their journey and tips and tricks that they picked up along the way to help you get into tech. All right, we made it to step number 5. The last step is share your knowledge. There's this quote that talks, knowledge is useless unless shared, and that's so true. So when you start building stuff and you get a little bit more comfortable, start doing tutorials about it. Create a little how-to of how you did this, because when you actually explain how you did something to somebody, or on a video or in a blog post, you actually retain it, and you sort of learn more about what it is that you did and why you did it. So for myself, what I did when I was still in college is I would actually go to meetups and speak about things I was learning. And these are things on the side that I was learning. And these weren't long talks. I did a lot of lightning talks, which are about 5 minutes long. It wasn't anything crazy, but what it did was it forced me out of my comfort zone and forced me to get in front of people and talk intelligently about things I knew. I know this can be scary, and trust me, it is scary. It's even scary getting in front of you guys on YouTube sometimes. But after you do it a couple of times, it becomes more familiar, and you end up maybe enjoying sharing your knowledge, and you realize how useful it is for other people in the community. So another aspect of sharing your knowledge is going on social media, going on Twitter, going on Instagram, Stack Overflow, GitHub, any of these places where you can actually share your knowledge with people that are asking questions. So there's a lot of, forums out there, and Twitter's great for this, about people having real conversations about things in tech. And you can jump in that conversation without having to physically be there, which can be a good little warm-up to going to meetups. Another great thing is go on Stack Overflow and answer questions. You can search on there to see things about topics that maybe you're knowledgeable on, or even Quora, which is great because you can do videos on there now. The other part is GitHub. Make your stuff accessible on GitHub and create it so it's a way that people can understand it and really utilize the knowledge that you have, because believe me, the knowledge you have is super useful, because all of us have been beginners and we don't know everything, and the stuff that you know, I guarantee you can at least help one person out there. So these are the 5 things that you guys need to know and need to do in order to get a job in tech. And I know these things aren't technical, but the thing about getting a job in the tech industry is you also need to be able to work with people, communicate with people, and believing in yourself and working hard, trying new things, being active in the community and sharing your knowledge. These things are so important, and these things are going to teach you different skills about yourself that you need to bring into the workplace, or even into your own business if you're wanting to start one. But these are the 5 things that I would recommend you doing or learning in order to get a job in tech. So, have confidence. Believe in yourself that you can do it. Work hard and work smart. Spend your time wisely. If you're wanting to become a software engineer and you're serious about learning the craft, spend your time doing it, and spend your time doing it wisely. This means follow tutorials, ask for help, reach out to peers. Try new things. Expand your knowledge. This world is our oyster. I think that's how the saying goes. But try new things. Be adaptive. Be flexible. Socialize. Get out there. Go to meetup.com. Join a meetup group. Join these online communities and just start talking and engaging with people. And lastly, share your knowledge, because what you know is so useful and it can help somebody, I promise you. Whether that's writing a blog post, writing a tweet, or creating a quick little video on Quora or even on YouTube. Whatever it is that you have, share it, because I promise you the world, somebody in the world is going to want to see it. So those are the 5 things that you need to know about getting a job in tech. I hope you guys really liked that. If you did, give a thumbs up, and I would love it if you shared that on your social and subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys.